Coming up on Tech News Today, Facebook gets in touch with its feelings. A new wireless internet hub that uses millimeter wave technology, living inside of VR for 48 long hours, and so much more. Tech News Today is next.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for Tech News Today is provided by CashFly at CACHEFLY.com.
This is Tech News Today, episode 1437, recorded Wednesday, January 27th, 2016. This episode of Tech News Today is brought to you by the Ring Video Doorbell. With Ring, you can see and talk to anyone at your door from anywhere in the world using your smartphone. It's like caller ID for your home. Right now, get free expedited FedEx shipping when you go to ring.com/TNT. And by Igloo software. Igloo is an intranet you'll actually like. It connects people with the information they need to do their best work. Try it for free at igloosoftware.com/twit or sign up for a live demo to see it in action. And by ZipRecruiter. Are you hiring? With ZipRecruiter.com, you can post to 100 plus job sites, including social networks, all with a single click. Screen, rate, and hire the right candidates fast. Try ZipRecruiter with a free 4-day trial now at ZipRecruiter.com/TNT. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Tech News Today, the show where we talk about some of the biggest tech news stories with people who are passionate about technology. I'm Jason Howell. Megan Maroney is out. She returns tomorrow, so don't worry, you're going to see her face on the set once again. But joining me, it's like a tech thing invasion of Tech News Today.
It's a tech thing takeover.
A tech thing news today. Is
tech
that
thing news?
maybe?
I like it.
I don't know. I'm flying by the seat of my pants here. Patrick Norton and Shannon Morse.
I was not warned that I would have to be enthusiastic about technology.
Oh, come on. After so many years in the industry, are you just at this point like, oh, okay, another router, another hub?
For 20 years, man. 20 years I've been faking it.
You were never enthusiastic. That's the kind of attitude I like.
I get enthusiastic, especially when I've had candy for lunch.
Oh.
Lies.
Well, it's awesome to get you guys on the show. Tell people a little bit about Tech Thing and what it's all about.
Tech Thing, it's tekthing.com. You can find that over there or at youtube.com/techthing. It's basically a how-to DIY interview and review show where we talk about all sorts of consumer tech, and it's very, very fun. Each show is about half an hour long, and we answer your questions.
And you work your butt off on that show. Your butts, your collective butts.
I started editing that show, too.
I know.
Yeah, so that's pretty exciting.
That's intense.
It's really fun.
You're doing the soup, the nuts, the bolts, all
pretty
pieces.
much, yeah. I put the entire car together, and I drove it.
How is she a good driver, Patrick?
I don't know.
You better answer that correctly.
Well, you put the entire car together and drive it. I guess I put the fuel in before she left.
Yes. And then you wave the flag and you say, all right, go.
He's the navigator.
All right. Hey, we have a lot of cool stuff to talk about, not the least of which is, of course, Facebook. But we're going to talk about Facebook a little bit later because there's a couple of stories. Right now, let's start off with a few other things. Chet Kanoya, I believe, the founder of Aereo, you might remember that from a few years back, launched a new wireless hub and eventually an ISP called Stari at an event in New York City today. The Stari Station Hub handles millimeter wave technology for wireless gigabit speeds into the home. It also, by the way, doubles as a Wi-Fi router. So this is all about, wireless internet. I imagine, instead of wiring it from outside into the house, this is maybe a lower friction way of doing that, but it kind of comes with its own hurdles.
That's what it sounds like, and I have to say the thing is adorably cute, as is everything for the Internet of Things these days. Mm-hmm. But what kind of freaks me out is this is using the same millimeter wave technology, possibly with a different side to it, but it's the same thing that the TSA has used for their body scanners.
Oh, that.
Well, I mean, there's radiation of all frequencies coming from the sun.
It's the same frequency,
right? Well, it's 38 gigahertz open bandwidth, right? Which is why they're going for it, because nothing's there. We don't do a good job of occupying 5 gigahertz bandwidth. 2.4 gigahertz is completely overwhelmed. So the claim here is that they have, this technology. It's basically used by like this bandwidth is basically used by the military and the TSA, or this part of the spectrum, and they're claiming they'll deliver gigabit. It'll be affordable. It won't be capped. I'm just kind of curious about the range on millimeter waves. That's they've hit lots of buzzwords. But my understanding is the higher the frequency, the more difficult it is to go over distances, especially in places with lots and lots of concrete and brick, like, for example, Boston, where they are launching, or New York City.
Well, even flora can cause issues with millimeter wave technology. So they're going to have to create some kind of mesh networking with access points to be able to enable this to work in like even a remotely small housing environment.
Yeah. I mean, we're talking line of sight, best case scenario, a kilometer max. So this is a big promise, but this is also somebody who started a business, and fought basically broadcasting cable all the way to the Supreme Court. So, if nothing else, we know the man is tenacious.
Yeah, it's kind of in his MO, right? Like with Aereo, he took on an established market, didn't necessarily succeed in the end, but he's not afraid to do that. And it seems like Stari's kind of aiming to do the same thing. They did kind of mention in this announcement, kind of some of those hurdles, those issues of range, obviously, as we were talking about, also just not being able to penetrate through things, even water. It's so like you said, Patrick, line of sight is important. They did say that they would work on kind of like clusters of antennas, and these are, by the way, the people that are designing this are the same kind of antenna designers that were behind Aereo, which was a huge part of what Aereo was doing. So they have some really smart people working on this. It'll just be interesting if they can kind of put those fears to rest.
I'm skeptical.
I'm with Shannon. I'm extremely skeptical because even The Verge quotes someone in there. What's the quote? Spencer Webb, an antenna consultant and president of Antenna, says, quote, "A phased array is the worst possible choice for millimeter wave antenna. It's terrible. I don't understand it. The feed structure is lossy, and it's not cost effective compared to a reflector or lens antenna." You know
what that tells me? They won't have any competition in this field. They'll be the only ones doing it. That could be a leg up.
Have fun with the FCC, guys.
I'm going to put my venture capital hat on and say, just because you have no business model, no source of revenue, or an idea that will potentially work, I want to give you millions of dollars to make it happen.
And that's exactly what's going to happen, probably.
Well, who knows? Maybe they do have some secret sauce.
Yeah.
Which is always an unfortunate phrase, that'll make their technology work. I'm just not holding my breath. I want it to work because I desperately want, I want Google to run fiber to every household in the United States, and I want better wireless internet. But boy, this is an unusual choice of technologies to try to make that happen.
Not inexpensive either, $349.99, and no price on the internet service itself.
I mean, if they can only do if they can only do line of sight and their maximum, even if we're talking about open ground is a kilometer, this is going to make. What was that failed technology that got bought by boy, I can see the logo for the company and I can't remember the name. The one that was going to replace
McDonald's. No, sorry. Oh man, I must be hungry.
Oh my goodness. Hold on. Broadband technology.
This is where we search Google with Patrick Norton.
I swear. Don't you remember when Sprint was doing their broadband? The company, nobody
You're asking
remembers.
the girl that has no memorization skills.
Boy.
And I'm just still thinking of McDonald's.
Well, it was a technology. It was a wireless technology.
WiMAX. Was it WiMAX?
That's the one.
PC guy 8088 in the chat room gets credit for that.
That's how bad WiMAX failed.
There we go.
That
and now
nobody
it makes sense.
Remembers it anymore, except for the man in the chat room that remembers everything. Thank you.
Our chat room brain remembers all. So just throw that out there, and they'll get it eventually.
WiMAX was a miserable failure.
Yeah.
Plus, it never really worked as well as they thought it would. So I guess we're down on that.
Yeah, I don't know. I like the idea of it. We'll just see if
Everybody
they can.
likes the idea.
If they can make it happen.
Except
I suppose.
Cable companies.
Yeah. Lyft agreed to settle a class action lawsuit that's been lingering since 2013. It was brought by Lyft drivers in California who wanted to be seen as full-time employees and therefore eligible for things like benefits as opposed to being independent contractors, as is the case right now. The settlement keeps drivers as contractors, but it does award $12.25 million to those that are represented by the suit. So, depending on how you look at it, it's a small price to pay for Lyft to kind of hold on to the way it's doing business. Because, I mean, if they had to change things, that would be a big hit financially. Payroll taxes, minimum wage, overtime laws, all that kind of stuff that they don't have to deal with contractors. And by the way, Lyft is not the only ride-sharing service kind of in this scenario. Uber is also fighting something
dealt
similar.
With something like that too. I don't know if they finalized their case or not yet.
June 20th, 2016.
I've talked to several Lyft drivers. Every time I take one of those ride-sharing applications to go wherever I might be going, I've always talked to them and asked, like, "Oh, how do you like your job? What are you doing?"
How
I
are
don't tell them
things? How's the wife?
But I'm friendly with them. And in most cases, they say, "Well, it's hard because there's so many other Lyft drivers out there. So it's really, really hard for them to make money." So I'm not surprised that they're trying to get employee status so they actually get paid a decent amount, a fair amount, as well as some kind of benefits, because it's really hard to make money as a contractor and be able to pay for all those benefits externally outside of being an employee.
And we heard, I think it was last week, that Uber basically dropped their rates for the third year straight. Lyft is kind of on the same same train as far as that's concerned, because they have to compete with each other. And so being a driver for these services more and more just isn't seeming like the best thing in the world. I don't know. I've not ridden in any, by the way, so haven't been able to talk with the drivers to see how they like.
I finally have, and I had a ton of coupons from CES, which was awesome in Vegas. But tip your drivers, like if you ever do, because that's where they really make their money, is through tips, because the mileage really doesn't pay that much.
Do we think drivers are going to stick around? Is this good enough? I guess it's a settlement, so I guess there was some sort of satisfaction. Most of the people that I've talked to have some kind of other job, and then they do this on their off time, or maybe they're an older person who is retired and wants to do this just to have something to do. So I think they'll do it. It might not necessarily be for a lot of money, though. So people that are trying to make money off this probably won't continue to do it. That's not a very good outcome.
Yeah. That's my personal opinion.
Well, I mean, Uber's also, already accidentally let slip that they're really thrilled about, autonomous vehicle technology, because it'll allow them to stop dealing with drivers altogether and automate everything. I mean, it's also this is part of also, there's a lot of arguments over what makes you an independent contractor, and part of what I find fascinating about some of these, one of the earliest cases against Uber, this person was like, "Well, I worked all of these hours and I made $11,000, and that's less than minimum wage." And as it turned out, this individual, and Uber settled with them because this woman and her husband apparently were part of like 20-something lawsuits. Like they sort of, litigating was a sport and or a lucrative source of revenue for them.
That sounds like an anxietal job.
Well,
just suing people left and right.
I think that was one of many things, but I think they mostly sued large companies to take money from them, which I guess is a thing for some people. But there's also, I don't understand people who go into, I've never really seen a clear explanation of how it is not clearly stated that you are an independent contractor. You know what I mean? Like, I have a lot more sympathy for cab drivers who are licensed and tested and, are responsible and part of an organization or personally carry insurance and then have to make, a regulated X number of, cents per mile and stuff. But it's interesting, like Yellow Cab in San Francisco has declared bankruptcy and is reorganizing because they are under the weight of lawsuits where people are claiming that they should be considered employees and not independent contractors. So I think there's also a lot of, there certainly are a lot of lawyers that are willing to sue companies where they think there is an opportunity to make money for people who didn't understand that being an independent contractor meant you were responsible for your expenses.
Oh, and not to mention themselves too, making money for themselves. I think they're pretty excited to have the opportunity to do that.
Yeah, that's I don't see if or when this is going to settle, but certainly, I mean, like, there's a whole website for the people suing Uber for the class action lawsuit on Uber. It's like uberlawsuit.com. And that trial begins on June 20th, 2016. Because Uber's been attempting to delay the trial and stop the trial. And it's funny because Uber's had issues. They've been in lawsuits in China. For like in some cases where the drivers weren't actually licensed. It sounds like it's kind of hard to tell with some of the translations, but this is also one of those classic Silicon Valley, we're a disruptive force. And it's like, well, yeah, you're a disruptive force because, people are using their personal car insurance and have no ability to cover the liability should they come into accidents. And, they're carrying all of the expenses while you're creating an opportunity for a disruptive force with your software.
And eventually deeming them useless because you're going to replace them with robots in cars, essentially. But I mean, really, that isn't going to happen for a very long time. Let's be realistic. Fully autonomous vehicles and a fleet of fully autonomous vehicles under Uber and or Lyft, if they both exist by that point, probably isn't happening anytime soon. So there's a little difference.
5 years.
You think a fully autonomous fleet in 5 years?
Well,
and by that I mean like no driver having to be associated with the vehicles in any way.
Well, it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think autonomous vehicles are coming much faster. They seem to be coming on much faster than I ever thought they would.
Yeah.
And I would not entirely be surprised. I don't know. All it takes is one good federal law that bans people driving their own cars and forces us all into indentured servitude to buy new autonomous vehicles from our corporate overlords. Boom.
That's all it takes.
We're going to eliminate highway fatalities entirely.
Yeah, I think what you're going to see instead is some sort of law that allows autonomous vehicle, but always requires somebody to be in the driver's seat just in case anything happens. I think we're going to see that for a long time before we ever see fully autonomous. But hey, who knows? Who knows? It's a crazy future, and we're just living in it. Tom Wheeler, the chairman of the FCC, is offering a proposal aimed at lowering cable bills as well as creating better access to internet-based content, basically giving cable satellite customers choice as to which cable box to use for their service, which is, a big benefit to companies like TiVo, Google with, Android TV, all those set-top boxes that could be used in place of the Comcast X1 box, which is the one that I have, which is catered to Comcast content and, all that kind of stuff, instead offering choice. You as a user, as a Comcast user, I pay a monthly rental fee for this because I don't have a choice, and that's just what you have to do. So, basically he's saying that's unfair. It should be opened up, and no surprise, 40 telecommunication companies, media groups are planning to form a coalition against this because,
of course.
Yeah,
of course they are.
Shocked.
So I am
shocked.
I do not have cable. I don't have a cable set-top box, nor have I ever had one because we really didn't have that ability when I grew up in the boondocks of Missouri. So didn't have it when I was growing up. But
you don't know what you're missing.
It sounds almost like the FCC is trying to create a monopoly on something that is profitable for businesses. And either way I look at it seems like a bad thing because in one side you have Comcast who's making a ton of money off of your rental. On the other side, the FCC is trying to regulate this. And I'm never really cool with government regulation unless it's really legit.
Yeah, I understand that. Patrick Norton, you had your hand raised. Yes, sir. Patrick Norton in the back.
Are they trying to break a monopoly or create a monopoly? Because it seems like they want to. It's funny because now that the cable companies have pretty much beaten cable modem or cable card, usage down to the ground. Now finally the FCC is stepping up and doing something where cable card would be incredibly
a little late for that battle.
Useful or available.
I would say it's a monopoly if only one company was selling the set-top boxes, but you have several different ISPs or several different cable companies that are selling them separately but it's only for their own business. So it's kind of a lose-lose.
None of the current functionality with all of the difficulty of maintaining your own technology.
What are you guys doing watching cable? The internet has better entertainment.
The Consumer Federation of America estimates customers overpay for devices to the tune of $6 to $14 billion per year. So no surprise. There's a lot of money in this.
You say overpay, they say profit.
Right, exactly. How do you want to frame it?
The next thing you're going to say is that there's no competition for internet in most of America. While you, sir, could give up your cable modem for a good 4 megabits, perhaps even 1.5 megabits down from your local DSL provider.
Hey, it's an option.
That's competition. Yeah, that's competition. Or you could go with satellite internet from the skies themselves.
Boy. Please, no. Wheeler aims to get the plan into effect by the end of the year. Obviously, beginning of next year, we're going to have a new president, potentially that's going to change everything. So he wants to really kind of rush this through and get it done by the end of the year. It's a lot of hurdles, I think, to tackle in a somewhat short amount of time. But I don't know. I'm all for choice. But I understand what you're saying, right? Like, is it necessary for someone
that
to
the FCC give you that choice? Or
well, I prefer to have that choice. So, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like right now you're really beholden to the cable companies and to the satellite providers. And there were options. Like, there have been options. Cable card is a prime example. This was a thing that existed, and there was support, and they pretty much crippled it to its own demise.
Yep.
And it's too bad that was seen as a threat, because it could have been a very convenient alternative, and instead it's nowhere to be seen. So I don't know. I just want options. I'm an Android guy. I want options. What can I say?
I like to save money, so I just cut the cord.
I suppose the other side to this is I have to call Comcast. This week, I think I have to call Comcast and basically cancel, and I'm going to do it this time.
Yes.
Last couple of years.
Yeah.
Last couple of television. I guess they're still going to have me for internet. Oh,
me too. Yeah.
Unless I can figure something else out.
Does everyone own their own cable modem?
Yes.
Yes, I did. I think
Everybody
I still do.
in here is raising their hands.
I think I still do. I don't know. Yeah, I don't even know anymore.
Bill,
Life's complicated. All right. And finally, Chrome 48 is getting its release for iOS a week after it hit Windows, Mac, and Linux. It's all about bringing speed and stability. Stability being a big piece of this, because from what I understand, for iOS users, Chrome was just a really crashy experience, and I guess they've kind of tackled it. It's Apple's WK WebView API. Performs on par with Safari. I think it was introduced back in 2014 with iOS 8. Well, Google has finally integrated it in to replace UI WebView, and as a result, stability, speed, responsiveness, web compatibility, all good things for iOS users. So yeah, yay for not crashy, buggy Chrome, I guess.
Yay! Yeah, I don't use iOS, but I'm really happy to hear that they've finally phased in that API for Google Chrome to actually work well on the iOS devices.
And Patrick is not impressed.
I liked the fact that they weren't using the code base. It was funny because when I ironically or not ironically, Chrome crashed this morning and it restarted. I got the made changes in Chrome to accommodate updates to iOS. Chrome no longer supports Do Not Track. I took a picture of it. I was so deeply saddened. I was thinking about it for ThreatWire this morning. So it lost some of its functionality. I didn't think it was that buggy, or I assumed it was buggy to the degree it was buggy because I would typically have like 60 tabs open in Chrome because I'm a freak of nature.
Yeah.
And like to research all the things.
They dropped the beta tag. Shouldn't they be working now?
That should mean like no bugs ever for the rest of the life.
Yes, that's a 1 star right there. One star.
You're thinking of Chrome on the Windows and Mac. It was I mean, I thought it was really curious that they made that change and kind of, I'm really kind of curious why they just decided to give up. Like if they were being pushed by Apple to abandon that code base, or if they really felt that they couldn't make it work and they had to for the user experience. I mean, this is Google. It's not like they don't have resources to fix things.
No kidding. Right. They did, speaking of Chrome for Mac and not just on iOS, they did also integrate the data saver feature, which we've had on Android version of Chrome for a while now. I completely, it was off my radar until 3 or 4 months ago. Somebody people on All Bad Android, Ron Richards, I think, was like, "Hey, you got to activate that," and I did, and that saves a lot of data. So I guess it's good to have that in the desktop version of the browser if you're worried about your data caps and everything, because it reduces it like down to like 70%.
What?
Yeah, it's just all kind of server side compression of the data and everything.
That's cool.
And you don't really notice a speed difference.
Okay.
In fact, it improves your speeds in many cases.
Maybe I will check that out then.
There you go.
Fascinating.
Up next, yes, we are going to finally talk about Facebook's earnings and how the like is being replaced with a lexicon of emotions. But first, let's take a minute to thank the sponsor of this episode. That's the Ring Video Doorbell. We're all familiar with the sound of a doorbell. It means, that somebody's at the door. Maybe they're delivering a package or friends are coming over for dinner. It's also the sound of someone who's standing outside ready to rob you of all your prized possessions.
What?
Yeah, it's true. It's true. 95% of home break-ins happen during the day. Burglars almost always start by ringing your doorbell to see if someone's home before they go in and, take all your stuff. With the Ring Video Doorbell, you can see and talk to anyone at your door from anywhere in the world using your smartphone. Ring's advanced motion detection, which you can, turn on and set the range and the sensitivity of that. It alerts you even if someone doesn't ring the doorbell. With the Ring Video Doorbell, you can talk to delivery people, keep an eye on the package that they drop off. If someone tries to come around and mess with it, you're going to get an instant alert and HD video of the entire thing. It's like having a neighbor keeping an eye on your home 24/7. I installed the Ring at my house. It was a super easy install. They give you the kit with all the things that you need. A proprietary screwdriver so that someone can't come along and just lift the Ring off your wall. It's totally proprietary. It took me minutes, and it plugged, right into the wiring that I already had. So basically, there's a built-in rechargeable battery that you can use if you don't have wiring in your walls or don't plan on doing that. So you can use it wireless, or you can plug it into your existing bell, and it'll ring that. Put your mind at ease and protect your home with the video doorbell that Time Magazine and USA Today named one of their top 10 gadgets of 2015. Go to ring.com/TNT for free expedited FedEx shipping. That's ring.com/TNT. With Ring, you are always home. I'm home right now, and I'm sitting on the set at TNT. I just have to pick up my phone, and I'm home. That's how easy it is. Yeah, it's true.
Okay, doctor.
True story.
Wow, time traveler.
Yeah, I know.
There you go.
I know, it's cool.
Amazing.
Okay, hey, let's talk a little bit about Facebook. Are we Facebook users? I know I use it, sometimes begrudgingly. Okay, very lukewarm response from Shannon.
Begrudgingly.
Okay, what about you, Patrick?
You use it constantly. I use Facebook mostly professionally and occasionally to communicate with people. Most of my friends are on Facebook, so often it's just easier to find them on Facebook sometimes, which I find kind of bizarre.
And that is exactly why Facebook is a monster.
It's
a success
it's
monster.
It's an addictive monster. I deleted that app off my phone.
I did too. I'm running it in Chrome browser actually now with a shortcut on my desktop.
Do that if I really have to, but
on my home screen.
Trying to never open it on my phone.
You just try to not use Facebook apparently. Mark Zuckerberg is sad to hear that, first of all, but not too sad because he's sleeping in a bed of money. He returned to work after a few months of paternity leave, and upon his return treated Wall Street with some staggering numbers in Facebook's earnings report today, just to name a few. I could go on and on, by the way, so go ahead and cut me off if you get bored of hearing these massive numbers. $5.84 billion in revenue. It's a 52% increase year over year. Profit of $1.56 billion, which is more than double last year.
Barf.
Okay, so 5.84, don't barf.
They're doing a good job. They deserve to be rewarded.
Absolutely. So 5.84 billion in revenue, 5.63 billion of that in advertising alone. So advertising is a monster, to say the very, very least.
I wish they would share some of that advertising revenue with people that upload their videos to Facebook.
Oh, interesting.
That would be nice.
Interesting that you mentioned video. 100 million hours of daily watch time on Facebook.
Wow.
Yeah.
So everybody's watching every video for 3 seconds and then shutting it.
Do you think that's what's happening?
Well, yeah, that's like, look at the statistical analytics of Facebook video watching. It's probably more like 30 seconds, but
I get lured into video on Facebook, and sometimes I feel like I'm better than
people
this.
just
You know what I
scroll
mean?
through
Like
their
I'm going, I'm
newsfeed.
scrolling through, then I go stop.
You
I'm
are
like,
strong and powerful.
What-
You have
what am I
a
doing?
choice.
yes, exactly. Jason, don't do that. But hey, sometimes it catches your attention. Shares went crazy in after hours trading, of course, and so tomorrow's going to be a big day of most certainly. 1.59 billion active monthly users, up 14% from last year. 1.44 billion of those on mobile devices alone. So that's 80% coming from mobile. That's actually a really big, really important piece of this puzzle because Facebook has really emphasized mobile over the last however many years. Also emphasizing getting into these emerging markets where data is not as plentiful as it is in other areas. So apps like Facebook Lite on Android. I don't know if iOS has a Facebook Lite version, but basically it's like a stripped down, low data version of Facebook.
Wow.
So that people everywhere who might not have a home computer in these areas, they probably have a smartphone in their pocket and they can get on Facebook.
Oh, I'm not surprised because, yeah, like you said, they've been working really hard to distribute. Didn't they distribute even phones in like emerging countries?
Handing out phones as well? I don't know if
I'll have to check that fact.
No,
so
they
that's
were
a
working
rumor.
on creating a more accessible internet.
It was the accessible internet. Okay.
Yeah, well, basically, sort of a high speed or low bandwidth optimized internet, which got really ugly really fast because it was considered to be a subset of the internet, if you will, that favored the people that were making it happen.
And you weren't talking about the HTC First, right? The Facebook phone.
That might have been what I was thinking of from many years ago.
Because that didn't work out so well. that was like Facebook going, yeah, maybe we don't need to get into hardware. Let's focus on everybody else's hardware.
But yeah, they've
their
been
free basic service.
Was
the one they were going to, and basically people in India decided they kind of violated net neutrality and gave you access to part of the internet. And they wanted access to all of the internet.
all the things.
Facebook's making $13.54 on every user on the service, at least were for the last quarter.
Wow.
So you're worth $13.54. We're all worth $13.54.
I'm worth like 4 Starbucks coffees.
There we go. To Facebook, you are. That's all we're worth. So obviously a big day. We didn't get a whole lot of kind of information about things like Oculus necessarily, although Zuckerberg did say in the call afterwards, he says, I am happy. I don't show much joy, but I am happy in regards to Oculus. So apparently he's happy about Oculus. I don't know what that translates to, but there you go.
You know, being at CES physically, they got a ton of traction there, and they took off as far as getting the Oculus Rift out there, getting people talking about it. Even people that I know who never talk about VR whatsoever know what it is specifically because of all the press they saw on the Oculus Rift coming out in January. So I'm not surprised at all with whatever numbers he says makes him happy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's probably a great start, and it's only going to go up because Oculus isn't even really necessarily a consumer product yet.
Yeah,
you know, this is the coming of VR this year. This is where VR becomes a teenager.
Oculus is one of those companies that's like they're doing a really, really good job with marketing, and I'm not surprised at all if they sell out real quick.
Mm-hmm. I know
It's so pretty.
Well, people, fans of the show are probably sick already of hearing me talk about VR. We're going to talk about VR a little bit later. Before we do that, though, we have some other Facebook information here. They revealed their empathetic button for posts last October that would show. Eventually, I think they were talking about it potentially replacing like. I think that was the rumor, the like button. But then eventually it came out that the like button was going to stick around. At least that's what we're kind of hearing today. Reactions is what they're called. Going to roll out to replace likes and just kind of not necessarily get rid of likes entirely, but add new emotions to the experience. This is from a piece on Bloomberg Business Week by Sarah Fryer, who actually wrote all about Chris Cox. He's the chief product officer of Facebook, and he is the man who kind of devised the plan to do this initially. And it's just kind of interesting because, obviously likes is at the heart of what Facebook is all about. People have always kind of clamored for some sort of other reaction that might might speak to how they feel.
There's been plenty.
Now we've got human emotions.
I'm actually okay with this.
Yeah?
Other than the fact that you would have to hold down the like button to actually access all the human emotions, which is going to be kind of annoying.
A little bit of UX, kind of interesting UX choice there. You have to tap and hold on the like button, and then eventually the reactions will appear.
But I'm okay with this altogether because there's been so many times when a friend will say like, hey, something horrible happened in my life, but then this great thing happened. And then I'm like, do I like this because that really bad thing happened? And they're like, oh, my boyfriend just dumped me, but it's okay because I had a Starbucks coffee. I don't necessarily want to like that. What do you do?
You highlight the Starbucks coffee portion like that. No, you can't. You can't highlight.
There's been a few times where I'm like, and then I say, I like the fact that you got coffee.
Just to be clear. To be clear. Here's what you're going to have the option of doing now. The emotions are angry, sad, wow, haha, and love. Apparently, yay was an option, but it was not universally understood, so they got rid of it.
Oh. I'm curious what
universally understood.
Yeah.
So in countries where yay is not understood, I wonder what they use instead.
I don't know. Is that yay? I don't.
Yatta.
I think that would be more. In the U.S. it'd be like peace, man, peace. Yeah, I mean that's the challenge, right? Like a thumbs up for the most part. I think in some parts of the world it's maybe a little unsavory.
Stop that thumbs up.
I know. I'm going to put it away. I apologize. But that's the challenge here is if you're changing something so easy to understand as like, I like that, to pull in all of these emotions. How do you do it so that it's totally obvious what that emotion is and there's no ambiguity around that so that people can interpret it one way or another? They know exactly what you're talking about.
So when they pull these up, are they just going to be the sad face or the happy face or the heart?
They have their own kind of styles and they're actually animated. Apparently, I don't know if they're animated.
It's not actually going to say like anger or
anything. No. From what I understand,
they are animated on I think in Gadget and possibly. Those seem to be consistent. So
that's something that you learn as a child, and you learn that as a human being. So it's obvious that those are going to be naturally worldwide understood. Like,
a beating heart. The angry one, turns red and, so, and actually that's, now that I think about it, the animation aspect seemed kind of kitschy to me when I first read it, but it actually kind of makes sense because there are some like emoji that you see, for example, and you see it and you interpret it as one thing, but it actually means like something else because it's a single frame. And maybe at least with a little bit of emotion, it helps. Yeah, there you go. The angry helps drive the point home of what you're actually trying to convey.
He's so cute. He has the same color hair as me.
I want. Yeah, you're right. I want anger from inside out. There.
Is anybody other than me surprised it took them this long to finally get around to this?
Yeah. Well, you mean from the moment it was proposed, or even before?
Well, just because Facebook's been around for a long time, right?
No, true. True.
And the like is obviously this big linchpin, but it's been very. It's been very constrained for a long time, that single button. In ways that I think always, like Twitter's, lack of responses never really bothered me. But, I think everybody here has been in a situation where somebody's been like, okay, I'm getting divorced. And you're like, unless they were involved with a real scumbag, it's really hard to be like.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I don't know. When your service is built up so solidly around a particular feature, I have to imagine it's really hard to even consider the thought of changing it. But and also when a service is new, I think not overcomplicating it is probably a big aspect to that too. If that's your only option, then either you're going to use it or you're not going to use it. If that's your option with 5 or 6 other things and you're just launching a service, then you've got to train people to know about, why they use one versus the other. And maybe that complication dilutes the experience. And I don't know. It's not as sticky.
I really like the yay one. He reminds me of the guy from Ghost in the Shell. Sorry, that's super old school and weird, but he totally reminds me of the guy from Ghost in the Shell.
And you're not gonna have yay.
man.
No. So you might like Yay, but Yay's going away.
Broke my heart. Angry face.
Exactly. If you had that angry face, you'd hold down on the like button for a long time and then put it there.
She's totally going to walk away from Facebook now.
That's it. That's all you needed.
No,
The
Yay.
final straw.
Let's take an email here. Adam Smith wrote into TNT@twit.tv regarding yesterday's discussion with Wahini Vara regarding diversity and inclusion in Silicon Valley. Now, it was a very long email, and he had a lot of good points here. So I did my best to kind of cut it down so that we aren't reading for 20 minutes. I hope that he understands my cuts. But anyways, he says, I'm privileged to work with people from all different racial, cultural, and economic backgrounds. And the inescapable conclusion I've made from this experience is that it doesn't matter what color someone's skin is, period. Being an ethnic minority is not a virtue, nor is being a member of the majority. One's ethnicity is not a good or bad thing. It simply is. The argument that hiring from more diverse backgrounds is desirable because it encourages problem solving from different angles is true, but only when there are very large differences in background and culture. But generally speaking, the approach people take to problems does not correlate, still his words, with ethnic background, and instead it varies with economic status, experience, education, and personality type far more. Which I totally understand his point. I think most of the correlations that he's listing there in relation to yesterday's article and interview, those can all be directly influenced on a societal level by their ethnic background specifically. It can be at the core of all of that. It's kind of the point. Someone's ethnicity can draw people to make certain assumptions that ultimately isolate people of color, for example, makes them feel unwelcome. It's an environment that's unwelcoming, and that's kind of the point. Companies don't intend to change things. They're certainly trying to do that right now, but rather because the way they're changing things doesn't overshadow kind of the precedence of homogenous white culture in the Valley. I know this is all this deep stuff. The interview, I understand.
Your interview with her was amazing, and her article really hits some valid points when it comes to Silicon Valley in general. Yeah. I was a military brat, so I moved around a ton. Right. I learned real quick, like if you are judging people based on the color of their skin or what language they speak or whatever, you're not going to make any friends, and you won't make any friends anytime you move around. So yeah, it was never a thing for me to look at that.
Sure.
Like you just. So, but personality, like when in the workplace, personality, how you come to work, your work ethics, that's what really matters to me most whenever I'm working with people. And when I was hiring too, when I was managing a business. So those are the most important factors for me when it comes to business owning. It's just, paying attention to how they work and how they're going to influence your team over what kind of racial background they might have.
Do we think companies are kind of focusing on the right things when it comes to kind of diversity and inclusion in regards to kind of setting an environment that's welcoming to people from other backgrounds?
They're trying, but even in the past, I've known a friend who has she has like an ethnic name. She puts that on her resume, and people won't hire her based on the fact that she has that ethnic name. So people might just automatically have a mindset where they won't hire that person based on their bias. And that's something that a lot of companies need to fix. They need to look beyond a person's name, look beyond a person's ethnicity or whatever it might be, and pay attention to how they're going to work in the workplace. So sure. I really think companies need to try harder, and not just Silicon Valley, but all over the place.
Sure. In general. Adam, excellent points. I'm going to email you afterwards because your email was very long, but I read word for word, and I appreciate you writing in. Everyone, please write in with your thoughts and your comments on the stuff we talk about. I'd love to bring you, Megan and I would both love to bring you into the show discussion because you help make the show better. It's TNT@twit.tv. All right, up next, a gaggle of VR stories. I told you we were going to talk about VR. But first, let's take a minute to thank the sponsor of this episode, and that's Igloo. Anyone that's worked in a corporate environment knows how painful legacy intranets can be. The content's stale, the interface is ugly, you can only access it while you're at work. Igloo is an intranet that you're actually going to like. It's a cloud platform that helps you share files, collaborate on your documents, blog updates, coordinate calendars, manage projects, all that stuff. It's built using responsive design, which means everything you can do at your desk, you can now do on the go through any web browser, wherever you happen to be. Anyone can add content based on their permissions with drag and drop widgets and a WYSIWYG editor. Igloo also offers a variety of access, authentication, and identity services to ensure that only authorized users have access in private clouds over SSL with 256-bit encryption. Now, unlike other solutions, you can customize Igloo to fit your needs and work with your current IT investments like Salesforce, SharePoint, Active Directory, and soon file sharing solutions like Box and Dropbox. And it's great for growing companies and large enterprises who are looking to refresh their communication strategy. It's actually used by government agencies as well as companies like Hulu, Inventive Health, American Family Insurance, and IP Switch. You can try it for free at igloosoftware.com/twit, or you can sign up for a live demo to see it in action. When you sign up through our link, you're going to get your own Igloo for up to 10 people absolutely free for as long as you want. That's igloosoftware.com/TWIT. And we thank them for their support. All right, we have like 3 little-ish VR stories, but I wanted to do this because I have a feeling you guys have opinions on VR, and I'm very curious to hear them. First of all, Google's celebrating 5 million cardboard VR devices. That's a pretty nice little number. They first released these 1.5 years ago at Google I/O. 25 million downloads of cardboard apps in the Play Store. And of course, we know YouTube now supports VR, which I think is awesome.
So exciting.
It's such a cool way to kind of, just hop on there, throw your phone into a little viewer and watch some 3D VR-ish YouTube videos.
Ish.
Yeah.
So I had the coolest experience recently with the Samsung. I believe it was the Samsung.
The Gear VR?
Yeah, the Gear VR. And it was basically watching Cirque du Soleil in front of you. And you would turn your head
isn't that cool?
and you would see them talk to you. It was just a really cool, trial experimental version of the video, but it was so amazing. And I loved being there on stage with the people that were acting and the people that were, doing their acrobats and everything. It was awesome.
And you're looking around, there's one point where you look around and there's a person sitting right there.
You could see the
look
theater
up
behind you, the empty theater behind you. It was just getting into that emotional aspect of it where you're able to, they look like they're looking at you. They're not actually interacting, but you can look at them and they look at you. And it feels like you're looking in each other's eyes. And it feels like you're actually there. And I just love that quality about virtual reality. I'm really, really excited to see where it goes. And I'm really excited for Google too with their cardboard sales, because that just keep on going, guys. Keep on going, Google.
Be interesting to see where it leads.
Yeah.
Have you used the cardboard version of VR very much, Patrick?
I've used the cardboard version of it some. I've used Samsung goggles. I've used the second developer edition of the Oculus Rift. I'm really curious to see where the apps come from. I'm fascinated that Google's at 25 million installs. What I really want to know is how, I think they said it was 375,000 hours, which seemed low, or 350,000 hours of viewing time or play time.
Yeah,
I'm just kind of curious, what's the killer app going to be? Is it going to be Oculus Rift Facebook makeouts between teenagers? Is it going to be interactive games? Is it going to be, because it was the Oculus Rift demo at CES last year, where they did a half dozen sort of micro demos, and one of them was this little city, right? This little cartoon kind of scale city with helicopters and firefighters and cars, and all I could think was I'd been playing trains with my boys before I left for CES, and all I could think of was looking at this demo and thinking this is crack, and my children will never come out from behind the goggles, which is perfect as a business model. Every business wants to have crack. I'm just kind of curious if any of those sort of potential games are going to live up to the sort of, I guess what I'm saying is there's so much potential there, and it's been botched so many times in the past. I really want to see something amazing, and I want to see it succeed. I also would like to see it require considerably less computing power, but that's not going to happen.
That's actually a great segue into this next story. The next frontier of VR might be in the cloud. Justin de Guzman, we'll see what you think about this. Contributor to TechCrunch posits that VR, at least in the early stages, is too expensive for widespread adoption, kind of like what you're talking about. He says there's two options. Either prices for VR tech is going to decline, or companies will attach it to cloud gaming or game streaming, doing the thing where, there's this just a massive amount of servers in the cloud, managing the computational stuff, streaming that to your VR headset so that it the requirement for souped up hardware in your goggles or in your space to power the goggles is a lot lower because all you're doing is streaming the content. And so as a result, the cost for the device and the entry cost into VR is driven down as well.
Yeah.
So this is going to be like on live.
Yeah, kind of something like that. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because we haven't
really seen a super successful version of this, right? What is holding this kind of business model back? Is it
Physics.
Latency essentially?
Yeah.
Latency. Resolution.
Physics.
Resolution is still terrible.
Is it?
Yeah. You're talking about needing it's one thing to stream like 4K on Netflix or Amazon Prime or whatever you're doing it on. It's a huge stream. It's like 15 megabits, but it's down. But if you're talking about a huge amount of information that has to go both ways, okay. If it has to go both ways, all the way to their servers and back, that's when we get into that's
going to eat up people's bandwidth.
Yeah, and OnLive was killed. Like latency kills it, and I personally think that what's going on with VR headset controllers, when you're moving around and dealing with a huge amount of information that has to go back and forth, the thing that made everybody turn to a garbage can and try to vomit, or like half the people that first put on an Oculus Rift, was cognitive dissonance between the way their head was moving and the fact that the resolution wasn't high enough and the feedback wasn't fast enough. So everything they've done on the Oculus Rift, the engineering for the last couple of years, has been to up the resolution and increase or decrease the latency or the lag between head movements and the screen. So then if you decide to, now that we've gotten it to the point where I can compute locally and people don't vomit, let's put the rendering up on the interwebs and get that vomiting thing back in there to really crush the debut.
Really missed the whole vomiting thing with VR.
Oh, wasn't that fun?
It's good to be back. Yeah.
Memories.
I saw somebody. Who was it? Somebody at Rev 3 put them on for about 45 seconds and lurched out of the games testing lab and immediately started clutching a garbage can to the point where I thought they were being theatrical because they were a theatrical person, except they held onto it and were just like, bleh. I was like, okay, so motion sickness could be an issue for some users.
Yeah. And I feel like, Patrick, you're either doing this on purpose or this is just working into my hands, because you're segueing into every single story perfectly. Fears surrounding VR becoming nausea machines for its users are at least tempered by this story of an artist who lived for 48 hours inside an HTC Vive headset.
Oh my gosh.
Thorsten Wiedemann, I believe, experienced no physical issues as a result. He did say, and I think this is worth mentioning, he almost experienced a panic attack in the 25th hour. That might not necessarily be the same thing as getting nauseous, because I think nauseous is this uncontrollable from the stomach type thing. And that's, panic attacks in some ways is at least just getting a hold of your mental state. It's an anxiety sort of thing. So maybe they're from two different centers, but it's an art project called Disconnected. He says it was to test what things are going to be like in 2026. This is what life's going to be. People are going to spend all their time in VR because it's just going to be the way it is. It's going to be how kids communicate, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and we're all going to be sitting on our butts on sofas, getting super, super fat and getting heart attacks. So none of us are going to live old enough to see it.
We're going to get Wallied, basically.
We're going to get Wallied, yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. That's exactly what it reminds me of, with our automated cars and our VR headsets.
So look, if Thorsten can do it, anyone can do it, right?
But
Or does he just have an iron stomach?
No, thanks. I like going outside, okay?
All right.
Getting a tan. I don't want to get a tan with weird lenses over my eyeballs.
You're not going outside if you're wearing a VR.
Hey everybody,
VR
check out my tan on my cheeks. No, not cool.
I guess he was led through a series of games, demos, and lucid trip experiences.
Lucid trip experience.
It also included 2.5. Yeah, interpret that however you will.
Trips.
Included 2.5 hours of sleeping with the headset still on. He was in a cozy cave of stars at that point. So
cozy cave of stars.
Oh my gosh! Somebody in the chat room, Bleak, mentioned Slender Man on VR. No, thank you.
Yeah, no, don't do that. I wonder how your eyes feel after 48 straight hours.
I wear
of
contacts, so mine ache a little bit after watching.
Right after a little bit. So like spending 48 hours of your eyes fixed on that, because even if it's 3D, it's not actual 3D. Your eyes aren't actually changing their focus to distance, and it's a simulated 3D. So you're just looking at a surface this close to your eyes the entire time.
It's gonna mess with your eyes.
I can't imagine, like, you take that thing off. There's got to be a little bit of an adjustment period.
Yeah. Well, even if you're just wearing one for half an hour, which is the most I've done, that's a long time. Even half an hour is a long time, and it still takes quite a bit of adjustment just for 30 minutes. Taking it off. Ugh.
All right.
No thanks.
Well, I'm still looking forward to VR, even though I might throw up.
Why don't you test it out for like a week straight? I might have it on for like 48
hours.
Just do it for a week.
We'll know I've gone to the other side if the next time you watch Tech News Today, I'm wearing a VR goggle for the entire show. Apologies if that happens. It might just happen someday. TNT's fan of the day is at Gary with 2 R's on Twitter. No, not Gary. And then he's telling us it's spelled with 2 R's, which it is, but at Garry with 2 R's all spelled out. Anyways, just look at the pic. You'll see what I mean. Anyway, apparently Gary watches with not 1, not 2, but 3 total screens of this show in his tech den, a MacBook, a Windows PC, and an iPad that's playing, yes, Tech News Today. There it is. And I think I recognize that keyboard layout. I think Leo has on his, doesn't he have that? What is that layout? What is that key layout? It's like a cover.
Wow.
It's a theme of some sort. I can't remember what it is. Anyways.
That is some legit
Superheroes.
Superheroes. There we go. Okay, I couldn't remember what they were themed after. Hey, you guys should show us how you watch or listen to TNT. Do it. Record a video, take a picture of yourself or your setup, post it on Instagram, Google+, Twitter, Facebook, Peach. I know I'm missing some.
Can I take a picture from on set and hashtag it?
Yeah. This is how I watch TNT.
From the set.
From the set, yeah. No big deal. Use the hashtag how I watch TNT, and we are going to find it.
NBD.
No big deal.
Hashtag blessed.
Up next, Uber wishes to pacify its drunk riders, rather. Wait a minute. Uber doesn't have drunk drivers.
What?
It's drunk riders. That was an obvious spell check issue there, by offering toys. But first, let's take a minute to thank the sponsor of this episode. That's ZipRecruiter. If you're hiring, but you're not sure where to find the best candidates, that's what ZipRecruiter is all about. As a business owner, your company is only as good as the people that you hire. You already know this. You run your business, but it's not easy to find those people. There's so many of them, and they're all over the place. How do you find them? Posting jobs in one place even isn't very easy. It's not enough to find quality candidates, and short staffing definitely leaves little time for you to do those things like post to dozens of job sites and all that stuff. Thanks to ZipRecruiter.com, you can post to 100 plus job sites. All it takes is one single click, and you'll be instantly matched to candidates from over nearly 6 million resumes all over. Just post once. Within 24 hours, watch your candidates just kind of roll into ZipRecruiter's easy-to-use interface. ZipRecruiter has been used by over 400,000 businesses. And you can actually try it now for free for yourself. Take a look, see how easy it is, see how many potential hires you have just waiting in ZipRecruiter's online service. Getting the right people for your company is so important. That's why ZipRecruiter is something that you should check out for your business. Dan, a happy ZipRecruiter client, said the hardest part about running a business when you need to hire is that you have to spend extra time recruiting while you're short-staffed. But with ZipRecruiter, I've gotten quality candidates within 24 hours of posting a job. ZipRecruiter's website makes this process so much faster by letting me manage candidates in one place. So today you can try ZipRecruiter for free for yourself. Go to ZipRecruiter.com/TNT. That's ZipRecruiter.com/TNT. And we thank ZipRecruiter for their support of Tech News Today. All right. Not drunk drivers, drunk riders. I just got to keep saying that. If you are drunk and riding in the back of an Uber, it's possible you might get the chance to bop it. Do you know what I mean when I say bop it?
What do you?
Yeah, it's that.
Oh no!
I still have my classic bop it. Yes.
If you can't keep up, you lose. Once you
Oh,
get the
yeah.
hands on Pop It, you're
Twist
not
it.
gonna want
Oh man, I want that.
Bro.
I want it. So this is a toy from the 90s.
Yeah.
Did you have one?
Yeah.
This was a big
I was
deal.
born in the
apparently.
80s, and I had 2 younger siblings. So yes, we had a bop it.
I
We
did not
probably
have
had
a
like
Bop
3
It.
bop its because we broke them.
Oh,
My mom still has our bop it in the attic. It still works.
you could probably sell
I
it
know.
to Uber for a pretty penny. I went on Amazon to
have
try
to
and find a bop it, and they're like $65.
Yeah. Mine was like 20.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Those are new too. They're weird looking.
yeah, it's
But
not
that's
quite the
kind
same.
of that's kind of a great idea. Just giving them a bop it, as long as they don't like get mad at it and like toss it out your window or something. This thing stinks. Boom.
It calls out actions. I never had this, by the way. Like bop it, twist it, tap it, whatever. Then you have to do
You
that
have to.
to
It's
it.
like Simon Says. So
Okay.
you have to follow whatever thing it tells you to do, and it gets faster and faster, and eventually it's like wah wah. You suck. It's so much fun.
I don't know about the bop it, but I kind of want one. I'm not paying $65 for it. What do you think, Patrick?
I want to know what train of thought led them to be like drunks,
Bop it.
belligerent, give them a bop. You know what I mean? Like, because I was.
I'm assuming one of them has tried this one night when they were.
They were
Now,
like,
I
whoa,
kind of,
that was really cool.
personally, so sorry guys, but I kind of want to get drunk now and play with a bop it
I know.
Well,
because it sounds really fun.
as a designated driver for life, I've actually had drunks pick up like the toddler's toy off the back seat
yeah.
and just sit there, manipulating, like one of the things where there's like beads that go around and just quietly play with the toy for the entire ride home. So on some level, I get it, but I can't imagine anything more awful for a cab driver than like 3 drunks in the back seat going, ding, against the window because they can't get it right.
Yeah.
Like, maybe that's a Jersey
man.
experience and not a Northern California experience.
They're so
but
much fun.
Maybe.
It's. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, for a short period of time, it'll distract the drunk rider from, yelling at the driver, I guess.
That's
so there's
true.
that. Hopefully the ride doesn't take too long for them to get discouraged. This is actually a partnership with Mothers Against Drunk Driving. So
Oh, that's
there's
cool.
thought around this.
That's really cool.
But I
So
think
the
it's a good
people
idea.
who would normally drive drunk, which by the way I discovered today is drunks are involved in 31% of all traffic fatalities in the United States. Traffic fatalities overall are down 25% over the last 5 years, which is awesome.
Wow.
But 1 in 3 accidents involving a fatality, one of the drivers is drunk. But I find it difficult to believe that the same jerk who's going to drive home drunk is going to be like, oh, they've got Boppets on Uber now. I'm going to get an Uber instead of running over children in crosswalks.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, this got dark real quick.
You got to remember, I've been sober for 25 years.
Understood.
I've observed a lot of humanity on Friday nights, and I am suspect. I think it's a great idea. I'm just, reducing the cost of Uber during the prime drunken fatality hours would probably be a lot more valuable.
Yeah, agreed.
Right. But that brings us
Don't
back
inflate
to
the prices.
the Uber drivers who are starving now because they can't make enough money because everybody's trying to be an independent contractor Uber driver and make their fortune, are going to be making even less money, and their cars are going to smell like vomit on the weekend. So
You know what
You paint a very vivid picture, Patrick.
I asked a Lyft driver, I don't know if it's the same for Uber, but I asked a Lyft driver in Vegas why they increased the prices so much for nights like New Year's Eve and things like that. Because in Vegas on New Year's Eve, they increased the price like 5 times.
100%.
Yeah, it was like
10x.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a lot of money. But they told me it's to get more drivers out there to pick up everybody.
Interesting.
So when more drivers see the higher price, they think, oh, I'm going to make more money, so I might as well work these hours on New Year's Eve or whatever it might be. So it gets more drivers out there to pick up more people.
I could see that.
And that's how they increase revenue,
Yeah.
which makes sense. I don't know if that's the same business plan that Uber has, but that was from a Lyft driver.
It seems like a good explanation for something they were already doing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it does.
We can make a lot more during this time, but let's not say that because also
Why
it
don't you have a
encourages
fixed
people to get
price?
out there. So let's say that instead. I don't know. I guess I'm not. I don't mean to disparage them for that choice, but it works in both
I hear it,
directions.
Yeah.
All right,
Somebody-
bop it.
Sorry.
No, I was just gonna say go and bop it if you can. I don't think you're gonna find these in all.
I'm looking
Uber
at
cars.
somebody's Uber screen cap of their Uber bill from New Year's Eve. Base fare $3, 3.86 miles, 560, 12.07 minutes, $3.02. Normal fare $11.62. Surge times 9.7 equals $101.09 for a
gosh.
subtotal of $112.71. And a total charge of $114.56.
Wow. And-
Still cheaper than a DUI.
Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough.
That's very true.
And you could have taken the bus even in Las Vegas.
You wouldn't have even had to bop it. Hey, thank you guys. This was a lot of fun. It was. I want to do a tech thing news today again when we can.
That would
This
be
was a lot of
awesome. Yeah, I'd love to come back.
fun. We already kind of told people a little bit about tech thing, but where can people follow you guys individually online, and what do you want people to know?
You go ahead, Patrick.
You can find me at Patrick Norton. She is at Snubs. We are at tekthining.com or youtube.com/techthing. And we invite you to join us each and every week while we geek out, answer your questions, review products, and just try to make, technology behave.
Yeah, behave.
Yeah.
Get in there, technology.
You give us 30 minutes, we'll make your world work better, at least as far as the technology parts are concerned.
And
Bad
we're
relationship
supported.
choices
We're
are
supported
your own.
completely on Patreon, and
right.
now and then we get a sponsorship. But I really want to thank our patrons for being a part of it because
Yeah,
they've really helped us grow, and we really appreciate them a lot. So we're releasing a build video this week just for patrons, and
Nice.
I'm so excited about that.
Very
because
cool.
it's
Build
very
of this case right here.
Yep.
This mini ITX
Whoa.
build, which is just 2.5 inches deep, 13 inches high, and 8.5
That thing is
inches.
so clean. I love
Wow, it is.
So
NFC
pretty.
Systems. I'm going to give a shout out to them. NFC-Systems, and this is the S4 Mini that we have right here.
That is a solid looking piece right there.
I'm so excited about it.
It's fun stuff.
Nice.
So thank you everybody for supporting us. If you're out there watching TNT,
Yes. Thank you. And thank you guys again for coming on.
thank you.
Tomorrow, Megan will be back, and we'll welcome our guest, Christina Warren from Mashable, for the entire show. We'll see Christina tomorrow. That's 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern, 12 a.m. UTC at twit.tv/live. You can be a part of the show, and please do email us, tnt@twit.tv. I love getting your emails, and I know Megan loves getting your emails and reading them as well, start to finish. She likes to reply to you, too, so you might get a reply from her. Voicemail 260-TNT-SHOW. You can find us on Twitter. We are at Tech News Today TV. If you want to know about our upcoming guests or, just kind of get information about what Twit's up to, you can subscribe to our new newsletter. Sign up at twit.tv/newsletter. There it is. And you can get that emailed to you regularly. Don't forget to subscribe to the show. We are all the places you expect to find us. But the main thing to know is that we have a show page where all that information is kept. That's twit.tv/TNT. And yeah, that's it. I'm Jason Howell, at Jason Howell on Twitter if you want to find me there. Thanks to live producer Anthony Nielsen, as always, and all the folks who help us produce this show each and every single day. We will see you tomorrow. Bye, everyone.